Hörmətli qonaqlar, hər birinizdən xahiş olunur.
Dear guests, I sincerely ask all of you to take up your seats. Our event is about to start in a few minutes.
Hörmətli qonaqlar, hər
Dear guests, please take up your seats. We are about to start in a few minutes.
mobil və elektron cihazlarınızı səssiz
Please either turn off your mobile devices or put them in mute.
Hörmətli xanımlar və cənablar, dəyərli
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear conference participants, we welcome you at the 6th International Scientific Conference of Economics and Management Researchers. The conference is dedicated to the Green World Solidarity Year with the theme A New Era of Sustainable Development, Green Transformation and Climate Finance. So this was done jointly in the organized by Azerbaijan State University of Economics, Regional Development Public Union, and we are welcoming you at the Sustainable Growth Through Competition, Directions and Challenges. This panel is going to bring together a number of experts. So the first day of the conference already took place yesterday. Now we are having day 2, and we will have 3 interesting panel discussions. For opening speech, I would like to give the floor to the Professor Adalat Muradov, the head of the University of Economics of Azerbaijan. Dear head of the State Service for Anti-Monopoly and Consumer Market Control under the Ministry of Economy, Mr. Mamad Abbasbeyli, dear head of the Turkish Competition Authority, Mr. Birol, dear ladies and gentlemen, my sincere greetings to all of you. Thank you for receiving our invitation and joining this conference. Our conference started yesterday. Today is the second day of our conference, and after today we will have 2 more days of conference activities. I can say that this conference is dedicated to the topic of different aspects of sustainability. That's important not only to our country but to the whole world. As part of the panel discussions today, we are going to talk about the role of competition in terms of sustainable growth, and we will have an opportunity to listen to what experts have to say. Azerbaijan moves along the market economy, and taking into account the competition, the importance of competition in the market economy, important steps have been taken. I would say that one of the most important steps, or I would even say that historical decision in Azerbaijan was taken on the 23rd of January this year by Mr. President. This is the Code of Competition, and this Code of Competition combines the standards and the existing experience of world. In terms of competition in our country, I especially wanted to mention that the State Service for Anti-Monopoly and Consumer Market have organized a number of meetings, organizations, which were also attended by us. A number of events are conducted with the entrepreneurs, dedicated to the mechanism of communication in cases of the violation of consumer rights, etc. It is, of course, clear that market economy cannot develop without a competition, and competition further boosts development. And in order to win in the competition, and it makes it important to follow the rules and guidelines, and it creates some advantages. Competition, of course, ensures that the resources that are available in the world in a more limited manner can be utilized more efficiently. So that's why the topic of today's panel discussion is important, and there is a serious need for an exchange of opinions in this field. Also, we have to mention that in our world today there is this digitalization. that's happening, that's taken place, which also makes it inevitable to bring some changes to the competition world. So in terms of sustainability, in terms of protection of ecology, in terms of application of blockchain and artificial intelligence, of course, this we should realize it brings positive changes, but at the same time, these technologies bring some risks in terms of sustainability, which we did not have before. In the digital economy, regarding the production of cryptocurrency, the volume of electrical energy produced by mining firms have been multiplied, and we're talking about more than the consumption of the electrical of the power energy, and we're talking about the carbohydrate resources that are used for the production of those of that. So on one side, green economy, digital economy addresses several serious issues in terms of sustainability, but this, on the other side, these new technologies, digital economy also brings out new problems. The other issue in the age of digitalization, it means that implementation of big infrastructural projects also is a must, and it involves big technologies and big volumes to the market. So the production of this infrastructure and great technologies, of course, increases the demand for the materials, and also it must be mentioned that it increases in big volumes the amount of electronic waste. In other words, the digitalization in terms of sustainable development doesn't seem like it's a neutral thing. So it brings up certain issues. So that's why famous experts who are engaged in sustainable growth, they have some proposals which also include that the economy, ecological and social criteria also should be added with the fourth criterion, and this is seen as the digital society and the digital economy. There is a rationality in this proposal, and it requires additional discussions. Digital economy also innovates and changes the economy itself. If the market economy, if we look at the limitations of the resources in the digital economy, there is no such thing as limitation of resources. And we're talking about the data, the big data that is used in the digital economy, which has no end. And this will keep increasing. So that's why when we talk about digital economy, here we have to understand that today, in today's market economy, those companies that are engaged in oil production, there is a mechanism that regulates the competition, but the oil of the digital economy, which is data, and when it comes to regulation of this data, only the initial steps are just being taken in that direction. And, based on the conclusion of the experts, so they say that, and the foundation of the market economy lies competition. That thesis belongs to yesterday, but for the tomorrow's economy, we think that it's important we think a little bit differently. So in the age of digitalization and in the age of digital economy, regarding the regulation of the competition, we think that the researches must be further strengthened and expanded I think that researchers can play an important role here. Another issue that we would like to touch upon is intellectual property and protection of intellectual property rights is especially important in the environment of digital economy, and it can be seen as damaging, especially in countries like Azerbaijan. So that's why in terms of, I think that the existing paradigms dealing with the protection of intellectual rights should be reviewed as well. Because our countries, small countries, like our small countries, we are dependent on some big foreign countries. And that is why, of course, the protection of intellectual property rights, it is also demanded by the international agreements, but it is the reality that the protection of these rights is an important thing in terms of it could be in a way damaging in terms of protection of the sustainability. So I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the organization of this conference. The fact that it is held at such a high level, we also have to thank Heydar Aliyev Center, and wanted to take the opportunity and thank the leadership of Heydar Aliyev Center for their help and support. And I once again think that we should never forget and should always thank Pasha Holding, who is the main sponsor of this conference. This is a great support to us, and it further inspires us that in the world of business, the events that are organized by our university is at the focus of the attention. I also want to thank our other sponsors, our academic partners and media partners. And at the end, of course, this conference is a result of the teamwork of our science and research team headed by the dear professor. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your valuable speech. We know that competition ensures fair markets, and it's important for sustainable development. It fights monopoly, it ensures sustainable technology, and offers cleaner selection. And it removes inequality and brings equality. So with that in mind, we would like to discuss these issues with the help of our panel experts, and the panel, which is titled Sustainable Growth Through Competition. For the next keynote speech, I would like to invite Mr. Mehmet Abbasbayli to the floor, head of the State Service for Anti-Monopoly and Consumer Market Control under the Ministry of Economy of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Mr. Adalat, dear Birol Kula, the head of the Turkish Competition Authority from the fraternal country of Turkey, dear colleagues, my greetings to all of you. On a Friday of this week, I know that everyone maybe expect a shorter day, but considering the importance and the significance of this conference and also of this panel, as can be seen from the title of the panel, Sustainable Growth Through Competition, Directions and Challenges. So considering that, I will like to say a few words about First of all, I would like to join what Mr. Adalat said, and I wanted to thank everyone who contributed to this conference. I would like to first of all thank Mr. Adalat and the staff of the University of Economics for their hard work. Competition is one of the components of sustainable economic development. Sustainable economic development are fundamental concepts in this modern world. Sustainable growth concentrates on meeting the needs of today's and tomorrow's generation and requires a balanced usage of the resources. It makes it necessary to have a right social approach and the efficient use of resources and limiting the impact on the environment and also increasing the impact on the society. So the resources, the usage of resources must be done effectively, and so competition should play an important driving role for the sustainable growth. The link between sustainable growth and competition, of course, is very important. Competition must be managed effectively in order to achieve sustainable growth. Competition boosts innovations and efficiency between the institutions and also serves the increase of the welfare. In that context, the competition must be done through effective regulation by the government, and it must be further boosted. As a result, in order to achieve long-term social growth, there must be sustainable competition, and certain values must be accepted. Modern business principles need to be, of course, regulated. Economic regulations impact the business processes. Of course, governments have policies in terms of like fiscal and business policies, and all these policies serve economic growth and increase of investment and directly impacts and contributes to the growth. Based on the neoliberalism doctrine, one of the components of economic growth is to develop free market relations and ensure competitive environment, and thus achieve high dynamics of growth. But in the world economy, alongside the high dynamics of the development, we also have started to feel the climate change and global warming. So, therefore, the main opportunity costs of the development became anthropogenic climate changes. And there must be special ecological standards, and tax and other related regulations further increases the costs in terms of climate change, and also it can slow down the growth of economy. So that's why it is considered as quite challenging to bring new regulations, and it makes it a must to transform the traditional regulations. Global integration and the increase of the investment flow and changing business models, as well as the importance of the sustainable growth, it makes necessary to have new regulations and transformations. So with that in mind, last December, a decree was signed by our dear president, and that decree brought a new code of competition into life. Based on the experience of US and some European countries, the main pillars of economy and competition were further updated and changed. And the code of competition combines the leading countries' experience and standards, and therefore it helps and is going to serve the further development of economy. The code of competition talks about how the economy must be demonopolized, how the agreements must be centralized, which serve the competition, and it fights the abuse of the usage of monopoly, and it brings the equality to the access of the resources. As can be seen from the title of the panel discussion, competition's sustainable growth through competition is happening right now, and therefore in the country and at the regional level we do know that the competition brings to the certain development tendencies, and after the Industrial Revolution up to modern days, we know that initially maximum profit was tied to the minimum resources, minimum costs, but we know that there is a way of further optimizing the economic resources, and also the protection of environment must be guiding our activities. Economic development must be ensured without damaging the environment and the future generations. In the environment of competition, there are certain strategies that are used by some countries or some companies that have led to a deteriorated situation and the wave of globalization makes it important to have a fair competition, and it makes it important to have a cooperation because there are common problems, and we have to try to change zero-sum game into win-win game. The solution of the global issues and competition must take into account all of this. Regulating tools must be present in the legislation as well as and it is in the code of competition. This is important. When we look from this angle, the market subjects, when they use predatory competition, this is not a solution. For the growth and sustainable development of the world, this process must be changed, and regulating agencies in the world should try to transform this situation into the win-win situation. It's not by chance that, based on the international experience, Azerbaijan Republic's Code of Competition has some exceptions also. And transfer of the technologies and the application of technologies are important. So therefore, real exceptions have been also reflected in the Code of Competition. In the Code of Competition, there are special exceptions to the agreements which maybe limits the competition but brings higher social welfare. Sustainable growth, which is important for the country, definitely dependent on this. We can say that Code of the Competition will be based on the economic transformation and will create a good environment for the effective growth by also bringing the limitation of the costs. At the end of my speech, I would like to say that even though Azerbaijan has very rich carbohydrate resources, in recent years, Azerbaijan has taken important steps on the way of the energy transformation. And as a result of that, our country has turned into a powerful country, not only in the region, but at the world level. We turned to a major force when it comes to the green transition. And again, thank you for your participation and attention. Thank you, Mr. Mehmet, for your very detailed speech. I would like to mention that this year's conference is done under the Green World Solidarity Year with the theme A New Era of Sustainable Development, Green Transformation and Climate Finance. We decided to present to our participants young tree plants. This year, these are olive trees which are placed on your tables, and they are yours to take and to keep. A tree planting action in the territory of Narimanov Municipality Park on the joint initiative of the organizing parties of the conference, the National Association of Azerbaijan Municipalities and the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Azerbaijan. We want to thank Azersun Holding for this gift of young tree plants. We wanted to thank everyone for the dear sponsors, Pasha Bank, Veysalovlu Companies, British Bank, Azersun Holding, Gence Şarap, Azgranata, Saliton Ltd.
Ministry of Economy, Turkey Digital Transformation, Fundamental Four Seasons Hotel, Logics, Markup Agency, Digital Accessibility Solutions, QMeter, Consensus Group, Sabah Hub, UNEC Lifelong Education Center, UNEC Sustainable Development Green Economy Center, UNEC Turkic World Economy Municipality National Association, Academic Partnership, Canadian Technology Institute from Albania, US Georgia University, Georgia Andrei Georgia University, Ili State University, India Chitkara University, Spain Malaga University, Sweden Applicable Science and Art University, Kazakhstan Turan University, Nazarbayev University, Süleyman Demirel University, Kyrgyzstan Girls Turkic Manak University, Latvia University, Hungary Miskolc University, Hungary Technology and Economy University, Jan Varosh University, Debrecen University, and Obuda University, Malta University, Uzbekistan Tashkent State Economy University, Poland Kazimierz Wielki University, Silesian Academy, Romania Danubius University and Agora University, Slovakia Bratislava Economy University, Slovenia Ljubljana University, Ljubljana Business School, Turkey Istanbul University, Atatürk University, Ukraine Taras Shevchenko Kiev State University, Turkey University Unions, European Union Refresh Education Project, Media, Real, ARB TV, Education TV, Report Information Agency, Hakkı Naz, APA, First News Az, Modern Az, Milli Az, Az Politika Info, Ordu Az, Baku Post, Media News Az, Moderator Az, Azedu, Marja and Modern Az. Thank you very much. I would like to mention that today I would like to express my gratitude for the support of Veysel company, especially Veysel company director Aydin Talibov. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for our sponsors, and this is your great help. For your information, I would like to say that you can watch this conference from Facebook and YouTube live. So let's talk about sustainable growth, through competition, direction and challenges. Now I would like to invite moderator and speakers to the stage. Moderator Jafar Babayev, Azerbaijan Minister of Economy, Anti-Monopoly, Market Control, State Service Deputy Chief. Speakers Birol Külev, the head of the Turkish Competition Authority, Cemal Yanga, Aydin Talibov, founder and CEO of Veysel Group of Companies. Maria Pilar, Senior Expert of the Competition Division of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. During the panel discussions, if you have any questions, please use your QR code on your table and give your questions. Mr. Babayev, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Today we will have very interesting discussion. Telling the truth, whenever we chose the topic, the main problem is to translate one terminology. And it was recently in the international arena there is a terminology competition and cooperation and a competition. It's the combination of these two words. In English, it's kind of new terminology, but in Azerbaijani language, we started to translate it as an average competition. So when we translate it as competition. So Miss Maria is with us. So competition, senior expert of the competition division of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. She is joining us online, and she listens to us. And if you have questions, you can direct your questions to her as well. So we have representatives from state agencies, business people, and also Miss Maria represents the international organization. Mr. Aydin and Mr. Cemal, and they are representatives of the private sector. So we are going to give them more strict questions. So of course we will give our questions to Mr. Birol, and he has prepared a presentation for us to talk about the experience of Turkey, and then of course after he presents us his presentation, we can give him also questions. As you know, in the whole world, we face different problems, global problems, climate changes. Mr. Mehmet has mentioned, Mr. Retalet has mentioned. Also, several years ago, we of course witnessed the pandemic, and also military conflicts, very close areas to our region, migration, terrorism problems. All of these, of course, impact private sectors, state, of course, activities, public sector, of course, and we need to cooperate together in order to cope with these problems. I have a question to Mr. Jalal, and he's an entrepreneur, and of course, he's the head of Entrepreneurship Association, Azerbaijan Turkey Business People Association had, and more than 20 years he's in this field. As an entrepreneur and as a leader, of course, of all these issues, he observes all these issues. I have a question. What do you think? For instance, there are lots of global problems in the world, and what do you think when it comes to the sustainable development? We call it sustainable development in English. What do you think? What is the role of the private sector? You are the representative of the private sector. You are an entrepreneur. You are leader in these processes. What do you think in order to solve these global problems? What is the role of the private sector? Because the targets are very tight in the private sector, because they think mainly about the profits and they need to maximize their financial resources. But at the same time, you are impacted from all these global problems. What do you think? Businesses, entrepreneurs, what are their approaches? How they can also be involved to solve these problems? Please, the floor is yours. This is a very serious question and very difficult question to answer. Dear Rector, dear guests, Mr. Jafar asked the question, and I am searching for the answer of this question more than 50 years. So that's why it will be very difficult for me to answer this question. So that's why I want to stand here, not sit and answer this question. It's really a great responsibility. When it comes to the green economy, business people, of course, affect all these activities negatively. And then they say that, okay, you destroyed everything now, deal with these issues. Of course, I would like to express my gratitude to all university representatives, especially Mr. Adalet. I express my deepest gratitude to him, because all together with universities, business people should be there, and everybody should run and join this conference, because in terms of market implementation, of course, we impact the economy. So when it comes to academic, of course, conferences, it's really important to solve and discuss these issues. There are two principles of the economy. The first one is the free market, another one is the state power economy. Related economy. When it comes, in order to deserve all the state power, entrepreneurs, business people should take the great responsibility, of course, contribute to the national economy positively. If they don't do it, so then they cannot benefit from their income, from their profit, because another World Bank will come and they will say that so you cannot produce all these products, you cannot improve furthermore. So that's why you will not support your country anymore. Briefly, don't be afraid of the competition. If there is no competition, we cannot improve our economy. Economists and the business people know that. Now let's come back to the question, how we can solve this problem? If there is a problem in the market, how we can solve this issue? First of all, So of course, when we talk about investment, we need to take into consideration the amount of investment and the support in this regard. For instance, we cannot use the street language, and we cannot say that okay, we need to have this market here. We need to have this business here and there. So we need to think about the amount of the investment. Then, otherwise, if the competition authority will come and say that your movement, your monopoly is not right and we're against of you, so then they will fine us, and then we will cry over why you fine us, etc. But we cannot benefit from all these activities. I mean, the main issue is that, of course, yes, to make money is important. After earning money, of course, people pay taxes, fines, etc. If you don't earn money, how you are going to pay for them? You will wait for subsidies, and nobody will give you any subsidies. That's why the first important things for entrepreneurs and business people to earn money with dignity, take into consideration the law, pay their taxes. We need to take this responsibility. Of course, paying taxes is really a great thing to do. You need to feel all honored. Then, for instance, we can require to have our hospitals being built properly, etc., to have better water, etc. If we pay taxes, of course, we have the right to speak out. So, of course, I worked in this sphere a lot. And then at the end of the day, I saw that everything is on the internet. Then I asked Mr. Jamal, so people in this audience can search the internet and find all this information. Then with Mr. Mamad, Mr. Azad, and okay, let's talk about we all together, what's going on, and then we can find the answer. So sincerely, we can confess what's going on. And business people, entrepreneurs, first of all, they, of course, they need to be very careful about their amount of investment. Then, of course, they need to, of course, again invest after earning money in order to be open to competition. So when it comes to green economy, we are not talking about only earning money. If we don't protect the green economy, so it means that of course we will pay all our money to our doctors. I don't want to hurt the feelings of the doctors, but it is the case. So that's why we need to use our opportunities, and we need to protect the environment from the ecological point of view. Then we can, of course, take other steps after protecting our environment. Then we can think about profits. So you will not be fined because you are destroying the environment. At the same time, I would like to say that entrepreneurs, business people should feel their responsibility, should contribute to the improvement of the economy, and we need to be benefited for all these positive results. I am not afraid of competition. Nobody is afraid of competition. If you are afraid of competition, it means that in your brain there is a single idea of monopoly. No countries can be benefited from monopoly. Even companies themselves cannot be benefited from that. Physical people cannot be benefited from monopoly. So that's why Mr. Birol is the head of the competition authority, and he knows all these issues. Mr. Mamad, of course, he is the head of the competition authority, and they know all these issues. Thank you very much for your contribution in this field of activities. So I have given my answer, I think that broadly, and we were dealing with all these issues for 50 years, and now you are listening for these results for 5 minutes. The main question is, Mr. Jamal, when it comes to the terminology, so if we, for instance, want to earn money, how we can do it properly? First of all, we know that the role of universities is really important. Without education, no entrepreneurs can, of course, compete in this market and to provide a sustainable development. We cannot use traditional methods to improve. It is not the era for traditional methods. So it is in the era of Nikolai. Now we need to cooperate with universities. We need to be with them. We need to open their doors. We need to be educated because lots of changes have happened. So the role of universities is important. Of course, it is really important if we talk about improvement, the sustainable development. Mr. Raidan, also me, of course, are working in this sphere a lot, but we're not enough to deal with these issues. We need to open the doors of the universities. We need to be with the state. We need to hold our flag and go ahead towards the development. So when you look at the economy of Azerbaijan, it's official information and you know all these issues, but of course the main interesting topic for me is that after 30 years Azerbaijani people liberated these countries, and we need big budget resources to build those areas, to develop those areas. So of course occupants didn't do anything in those areas. I frequently visit those territories, and Azerbaijani government has a great project they are implementing there. Of course there's a great atmosphere there, and they try to protect those areas from the ecological point of view. So that's why in our country, in Azerbaijan, as Turkish citizens, it's our mother country. So everything should be very beautiful in our country. We need to be open for competition to protect our environment. Without doing all these activities, we need to allocate another budget for implementing these activities. Of course, Mr. Jafar, my brother, of course, I try to answer your question. You have another question? Please go ahead. Thank you very much for your answer. Another question is related to the topic about the competition. So, of course, you also the other. Of course, there are lots of agencies, companies that they compete with each other. In your experience, in order to reach the goals, do they cooperate? For instance, do you have any example to share with us? For instance, we cooperate with banks. Of course, sometimes we cannot accept or be compatible with their rules, but of course, we need to identify who is going to use this legislation, there's rules, etc. If it will benefit the country, then we need to accept all of them. Of course, for instance, I am in the construction field, and other, of course, people are. There are more than 20 companies. Of course, I compete with them. We need to have common goal in order to reach the goals. Of course, we love our country, we love our nation. Money is important to love. Without loving money, we cannot achieve anything. People give me questions that they say that money is not important, and I always say that no, money is important. Everybody should earn enough money because it is the money of our staff. It is not for us only. This is the national currency of our country. So we earn money and other people also earn money. So of course I also earn money in my company as a salary. Maybe Mr. Raiden has more salary than me. What is the bottom line? We need to contribute national economy. So don't be afraid of competition. I always say this. So if we contribute our government, if the government will benefit from this, of course, we cooperate and compete together in order to reach our goals. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I am ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to say that, of course, you have QR codes. You can scan them and ask your questions. Now we have some questions. After the panel session is over, I will, of course, read all these questions. Second question is for our Maria, our foreign guest. I don't know if she hears us or not.
Good morning. How are you?
I think it's too early in Budapest. What time is it?
It is 9:30. It's totally perfect.
So the work started. The office hours started, right?
Sorry?
You started working.
I started working. No problem.
Maria, thank you much for joining us. We would be very happy to see you among our panelists, but unfortunately, due to some arrangements, you weren't able to join us. We are discussing here, as we told you, this topic of competition. So it's very important to know for us that private entities, especially the business representatives, they of course, they compete between each other. But there are also some global causes, pandemics, terrorism, migration, some military events happening in the region, in the world. Knowing you from the perspective of competition as a head of a regional office for competition, myself and my colleagues here, our guests here, would appreciate to know your opinion regarding the borders where competition meets the cooperation. Where do you think is a line crossing which will lead to, for example, violation of competition law, for example, to cartel conspiracy? If you can answer to this question, would be appreciated. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much. I would like to start saying that I am very sorry that I cannot be there in the country where you always make me feel at home. But at least I can participate and I can congratulate you for this amazing venue, this amazing number of sponsors, number of people attending. So I am really impressed. Well, answering your question, I think that from a competition perspective, general interest is the answer. Because what I always like to underline is that competition policy is a way of controlling both public entities and private entities in order to protect the weaker of the market. And the weaker of the market is always the citizen, is always the consumer, is always the one that is receiving the products and the services. And we as citizens, we as society want better products, better prices, innovation. We want increase in quality. So answering directly your question, what I would say is that the speaker before me was talking about economic profit. And I think that economic profit is key in our economies because we need investment. And we are not going to have investment if we are not protecting companies to have legal certainty, to have foreseeable and transparent rules that are the same for all of them, that respect this level playing field. But then we want those companies to have the incentive to do it better for us. I think that the main idea of competition, when we want to protect this public interest that I am referring to, is that we try not to impose obligations on companies if those obligations are not related to the protection of public interest. So sometimes in some economies, and I come from Spain and I was used to this kind of approach, we have governments that consider that they need to impose conditions in companies. Conditions like, for example, fixing maximum prices. they think that fixing maximum prices, they are protecting the citizens because certain products or services are not going to go very high in price, and this will protect their citizens. And I think that they do it because they think that they are really reaching the goal that they are trying to protect. But from the competition law perspective, this is not the optimal way of doing it. Competition deals with creating of incentives. We want to create an environment, an economic and legal environment that creates the incentives for companies to offer the best option for our society. And for doing this, what we need to create are rules that prohibit companies to go against this public interest. This is very easy to say, and of course it's not so easy to enforce in particular cases. So in general terms, when companies reach agreements of cooperation that only protect their own interest and go against public interest, go against general interest, then we can draw this line. This is always prohibited. Cooperation is very relevant when we are talking about, for example, the capacity of different companies to present better services to society. We faced not so long ago a situation of crisis due to COVID, where in many countries it was not possible to offer our citizens the services that those citizens needed. And there we faced situations where companies were collaborating in order to be able to offer the services quicker, for example, or to offer more services or more products to hospitals. That's perfect. That's ideal. That's exactly what we want to achieve. The problem when those companies cooperate is that sometimes they start by looking for opportunities to do things better. And when they realize that this implies a higher profit for them, they just focus in the higher profit. And I was saying the same as my predecessor, profit is relevant, profit is needed. We need profit to protect investment, and we need investment for our societies to grow. And we need to have to keep in mind that we are not just talking about a short-term analysis, as you were all underlying. We are talking about a long-term analysis. We are talking about sustainable, and sustainable means not only environment, means also social protection. So we are talking about all those things. But what we need to guarantee is that the private entities, the companies, are respecting those principles, and when they cross this line that only protects their own interest instead of respecting the principles of general interest, then the competition agency needs to stop this behavior and needs to be deterrent. Because what we also need to be aware is that for companies, anti-competitive behaviors are natural, I would say. It is reasonable that companies want to increase their profit, that want to close the market only for them. Once you have entered in the market, it is reasonable that you don't want newcomers to enter in the market and offer different services that can be more interesting for citizens. That's where we need to stop.
So,
because
Maria, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So it happens that, as to summarize, I mean, what you have told us, if prima facie, de jure, cooperation between entities might look violating competition law, competition policy, but the effect of that violation might lead to the benefit of entire society, we come to the conclusion that that's actually not violation, and according to the new competition policy should not be punished. Is it correct?
What I would say is that this is true, but we need to fulfill some requirements. Okay. So in general terms, the main idea that you have just said is absolutely, I'm absolutely agree with it, if it creates benefit to society. The thing is how we are going to measure if these agreements create benefit to society. So if, for example, the companies create some benefit to society, but the benefit that they create, for example, reducing costs or reducing or increasing quality, is only enjoyed by themselves, then we have a problem. If we are in a situation where they close the market, the whole market, we are talking about an agreement between all the companies in a certain market, it is very difficult to foresee that they are not going to increase their profit in a way that goes against general interest. So we need to take into consideration those requirements. They cannot impose additional restrictions considering that they are creating a benefit. They need to let the citizens, society to benefit from the good things of this agreement. They cannot close the whole market, because if they close the whole market, the incentive is absolutely negative. And then if we impede other entities to enter in the market, we will have a kind of monopoly, I mean, a global monopoly, but a monopoly in the last term. And then when we have situations of monopoly, we know that it is very relevant that we intervene, because otherwise the monopolist, being one entity or a group of entities that work together, they naturally tend to increase their profit in a way that goes against general interest. So I totally agree with your approach, but then when enforcing this approach, we as competition agencies need to be very careful, I would say.
Devil in details.
Sorry?
Devil in details. And we need to look at
That's
details.
it. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mary. And definitely we are going to have questions. We will go back to you. We have questions to you. So we will return back to you in some while. Thank you very much for your answer. Maria Hanım'ın bildirdiği kimi son tendensiyalarına bak.
So the recent tendency is that if the competition serves the interests of the general society and it helps the welfare of the consumers, so these types of cooperation, of course, it is accepted as positive and it is allowed. So this is one of the recent changes in the competition policy, and in our recently adopted Code of Competition, this is also taken into account in all its parts. If we generalize it, we can say that if business organizations they come together and if they get agreements that serve the general benefits, interests of the mankind, then these agreements in terms of competition are considered as accepted, and it is not accepted to prohibit this. So my next question I would like to address to Mr. Aydin. Veysaloğlu company is one of the leading companies in Azerbaijan, has an experience of 30 years, especially in FMCG market. And as a company which is active in FMCG market, you are dependent on supply chain. And as a company dependent on supply chain, you know, all these changes happening in the world, military conflicts, pandemics, all of this, we know that as consumers, we know that it also impacts you. And if it impacts you, it impacts the society. So this sustainable, in order to ensure this sustainable growth of yourself and of our country, in terms of supply chain, cooperation between the government and private sector, how do you see it? So how do you see it? So what do you think what you should do as a representative of private sector, and what state should do, and where is that gold common point? Thank you for your question. This is an interesting question. So, as a founder of Veysaloğlu company, we have been active since 1994. Actually, we started in 1992, but became a company in 1994. Basically, right after Azerbaijan gained independence, we were established. Would like to go back to the history of Veysaloğlu company. We have been actively participating in all stages of the history of Azerbaijan, recent history, and we have been live witness of everything. And of course, during, let's say, COVID pandemic, we had very serious dialogues and talks with our state authorities, and it had very positive results. All the retailers were gathered at the Ministry of Economy, and we saw a very good support by the government. And as a result of that support, Azerbaijan very successfully managed to survive and go through the COVID pandemic. And in neighboring country, which we are also more or less active, we didn't see that support there. But in Azerbaijan, it was very well provided, and I'm honored to say that. But if we go to the history of our company, basically it ran parallel with the economic development of Azerbaijan, and so that is why each time we talk about it, of course, we know which days, if we talk about history, this can also kind of resonates the history of Azerbaijan. Our company started to seriously grow in 2015. That was the year when there was a crisis, there was a devaluation of Azerbaijan currency, and at that time we had 4,700 staff members. In 2018, we had reached about 13,000 of staff members, and now we are 24,000. And in the last 5 years, we doubled the number of our staff, and we started to quite seriously be engaged in the local production. Simply last year, in 2023, we had local sales of about 1.5 billion local products to our consumers. In 2023, alone in 2023, we brought about 100 million agricultural products to the benefit of our consumers. And we also helped and taught our farmers and local producers to work on a plan. And these planned purchases replaced unplanned purchases in the network, in the chain of stores. And until the chain of markets established, there were many people who couldn't distribute their products to the markets, and some of them went bankrupt. But after the chain of markets appeared, these farmers and owners, entrepreneurs, they also started to develop. So the chain of markets has about 30% share in the market. That's what our researches show. But in the neighboring Turkey, this is 65%, that share. In European countries, for example, in Germany, the share of supply of the chain of markets is 95%. What it means? It means that the majority of agricultural products are sold in the market chains. What it means? Market chains can give a plan and can take responsibility. It can put a plan in front of a farmer, like how much I will buy from you. So it helps farmer to plan its activities. But if we're talking about just non-market sales, it doesn't help the farmers. If the sales take place through the chain markets, it creates a responsibility and obligation, and it helps the farmers. So we also prepared a project directly from farms to the shelves of the stores. So we meet with the farmers, we take procurement, we display procurement obligations, we provide them with plans, we give them words, And these types of approach helps the agricultural and local economy development. This is the type of cooperation we have right now. The dialogue between state and business. I have been in the Azerbaijan market for 30 years. And currently, this status of that dialogue is as good as it has never been before. We have, of course, discrepancies in thoughts, but this is quite normal. We have a discussion, we have a dialogue, and it's definitely going to take us to a development. Have several notes. This event correlates with ecology. In 2023 only, we collected about 200 kilograms of batteries from consumers and from people and submitted it to the required agencies. The liquid oils we used to send it to wastes. We now meet with recycling companies, and they are being recycled and used as lubricants. So we have a number of interesting projects. Like last year in 2023, we spent 8 million and purchased new trucks, which is going to have a positive impact on the ecology. Also, building this consumer chain helps us to faster and easier to get the products to consumers. It also positively impacts the environment because we're using less trucks to do that. But still, there are a lot to do especially in the transportation field. We compare ourselves with neighboring countries, Turkey and others. Even though the fuel prices and workforce is cheaper, but in terms of percentage, the costs are higher in some cases than Turkey and European countries. This is an issue of professionalism. Even though we have saved a lot, but we do realize that we are falling behind. And as to the competition, quickly I would like to talk. I don't want to take too much of time. We're 31 years ago, we lived in the Soviet Union. Some of you maybe remember, some of you maybe don't. In the Soviet Union, everything belonged to state and everything was regulated. The price was regulated by the state and there was no competition. They were using the socialism competition. Socialism race was kind of trying to replace the competition, which was not a successful thing, which was not a good thing. But I can say that this socialism competition which existed then, basically this was just a fake. It never existed. As it was mentioned by my colleague, we shouldn't be scared of competition. So there's a saying that if you're afraid of a wolf, you wouldn't go to a forest. So if you're scared of competition, then you shouldn't be in business. We have always been in competition. We have seen fair competition, we have seen unfair competition, but we have survived through all of this and reached today successfully. And we have to thank our team for that, and also this productive environment that was established by our government helped us reach these stages. And I see that we have lots of interesting horizons ahead of us. We have to further increase the tempo. We have to compare ourselves with our neighbors and with the Western countries. And there is no reason why we shouldn't reach them and also pass them. And the government and private sector joint cooperation will help us achieve that. Just a quick question. We also started receiving some questions from the audience, and I think that you are the best person to answer maybe some of that questions. So this is to do with the water scarcity. You know that There is a major water scarcity in the world, and Azerbaijan is amongst these countries based on the international statistics. And you are also engaged in the production, and also some of your partners, their products, like agricultural products, you said, they are using lots of water, both local and foreign. Regarding the water saving, do you have any projects related to saving the water? Like, you said you're reducing the fuel, do you have any water related projects? We have a logistical center, and there is very serious water expenditures there. Recently I saw that. And as I mentioned, we come from the Soviet Union. I have to mention, it's very unfortunate that our society sometimes is very wasteful. And we are seriously wasteful society, per capita even. I think that we did some logistical calculations. There is a very serious wastes, and if we just somehow manage to cut this wastefulness, it would help us. Maybe we need to do some educational works in place. It comes from the Soviet times. We were quite free in using the water and water sources, but we have to change that behavior, and the state resources must be utilized for the educational purpose. In 1989, I was working in Nakhchivan, and I was living in a 5-story building. We had a tap water in our courtyard, and it was open 24/7. The water was running 24/7, and it was coming from 80-kilometer distance, and it was just running all the time, and no one was thinking about closing it if not needed to use. So we have this wastefulness that we have to save ourselves from. Thank you, Birol. Mr. Birol, I know that you have a very interesting presentation. I suggest that you first do your presentation, and then we can start our questions. Actually, I received some questions in advance, and my presentation is already related to that. I'm very happy to be here, first of all. I'm very happy to be in Baku. This is an honor for me to be in Baku. A fantastic host. We were welcomed by the competition authorities, and yesterday they talked about some of their new activities. I wanted to say that as Azerbaijanis, you are very lucky. You have a very good activities, even can make Turkey very jealous. And you had a very good documentations. Like, you have a very good new legislation that you put together, the Code of Competition. And I'm going to take a copy with me and try to benefit from that in Turkey. So my compliments to you. I don't want to spend much time, and this is the last work day of the week. For the last 2 days I have been eating so much and so delicious food that I forgot about Turkey. And I'm going to have an investigation to see how powerful you can be, because if you are trying to feed us so much good food, we will not be able to eat anything when we are back to Turkey. There must be a sound competition in this field. Dear Rector, dear head of the society, dear participants, since 1980, in fact, capitalism and the free market have been having some issues in terms of paradigms. Until 1980s, there's a very good market mechanism, but in starting 1980s till 1990s and the 2000s and up to today, the free market mechanism. I am an economics student, and this is far from the idea that the markets are balanced by itself. Because the firms, companies, besides their internal dynamics, they started to fight. So the competition authorities were a little bit late in helping them. Free market mechanism, in fact, is something that we all dream of. In the democracies, free market mechanism is a very healthy thing. Actually, when we talk about sustainable growth, the foundation is the fundamental principle. Development and growth. Actually, I was told by my professors, teachers, that development and growth are two different things. So I have to mention that in order to make the sustainable development happen, the resources must be distributed fairly. And in order to achieve that, there must be a very serious and fair free market mechanism in place. But the free market mechanism started to go away from its internal dynamics, and the competition authorities in the whole world, slowly they started to, without impeding the innovation, to make some interventions to see how to help free market bring the free market to the balance. They are still arguing about this topic. Of course, growth is temporary, but what matters most is development, and for the development, this is an absolute must to effectively and fairly use the resources. And it depends on environmental conditions, social conditions, and economic conditions. So when we say it is dependent on economic relations, then we look at the competition authorities as an important ones. Because if there is no such authorities, or if there is no such right, then that free market that should balance itself, in that environment we will see that initiatives will conflict. Together they can do a lot of work, and all these initiatives that can be done jointly. In those cases, they never effectively use of the resources. And if there are such cartels in economy, it will be hard to talk about development. we have a law number 4 of 54, Article 6 there. But I would say that in Azerbaijan, the code of competition that was accepted, it far surpasses what we have. Because if there is no such competitive environment, one company will come, take its place in the market, and will not let others to step in, and thus will not let the market to grow. And what will happen? The development will stop, and there is no need for innovation because that company will be alone in the market, and it will determine the production amount, volume, and the quality itself. So, therefore, competition authorities, if there is no competition authorities in an economy, we cannot talk about growth or development or improved welfare or increase of consumption. So, right now, without making it too boring for you, very short, I'm going to talk to you about my presentation and to see what kind of vehicles we use or tools we use in order to achieve sustainable development and competition. What have we done there? So, I'm going to be very short. So, we have here three main principles. Inter-enterprise agreements, 2, abuse of dominant position, and 3 is something that we face very often, is strengthening a dominant position through merger and acquisition. And in mergers and acquisitions, to see how much they are affected by the competition rules. As we mentioned, how should competition rules be applied for sustainable development? First, it must be on time, because if we don't do something on time, if we don't take an action on time, the complications, side effects of this will be irreversible and will lead to damages that will be irreversible. So therefore, in order to make the optimal use of the resources for the competition authorities, it must be that the interventions, the lawful interventions, must be done on time, and it must be sufficient. Our nation, our people, and entrepreneurs, they say that we are using all the powers we have. But no, we have to use that force in a way that it doesn't disrupt the market and doesn't stop any other initiatives. And we don't want to be an authorities that would block innovations. So therefore, all these surveys and investigations that you do, like you might think that, oh, they're being very harsh against us. This is not the right approach. So that's why we want the interventions to be optimal. We know that we cannot remove the illegal competition with insufficient interventions. And of course, these interventions must be effective. In times of crisis, of course, it must be able to respond immediately, fully, and effectively to unexpected events and sudden needs. During the pandemic, for about a year or 2 years, we lived at homes. We went to markets and we had issues related to the lack of consumer products. We had some serious issues. This is how it was in Turkey, and I think that in Azerbaijan you also faced similar situations. We pretty much purchased everything and put it in our houses. Digitalization had a very quick development, and during the pandemic, those years that put us through crisis, we tried to be more proactive in terms of consumption. Tried to take a more proactive approach, focused on consumer welfare. And of course, food and digital markets entered our houses. We were closed in our houses behind doors. We didn't know when and how this pandemic will end, so we turned digital. And this had a very serious impact and helped us go through. Everything was digitalized. Every single part of our life was digitalized. And as competition authority, we couldn't stay silent. And ex officio investigations increased and sector investigations were initiated. On-site inspection capacity was increased. And so since people were at home and maybe they were going through maybe depressive times, so we did some ex officio investigations and we increased our human resources. We hired 170 experts working in this field and involved them in comprehensive trainings. We did some legislative changes, and this is, of course, we had some on-site inspections, increased our authorities, and as a competition authority of Turkey, in the years 2019 and 2020, we had very serious investments in our on-site inspections. We had some, with our investments in that, we can say that we had some important devices purchased that we used, and we also activated consensus mechanism and commitment mechanisms and did an active cooperation regulation. And what helped us to better fight this was commitment and consensus. In 2021, we had 4 consensuses. In 2022, it reached 34, and in 2023, it was even higher. We increased it by 17 times. Digital marketplaces, we prepared a draft law on preliminary regulation of them. In 2019, we imposed certain obligations on gate guards and banning some of their practices. The goal was more competitive structure from the very beginning. And we took all the literature and articles related to the digital markets in the world. We did some research and we prepared a report consisting of 2,500 pages. And this was summarized, and right now this became to be used as a basis for the draft law, which is at the Turkish parliament right now, waiting ratification. Of course, during the last 4 years, which also included the pandemic, with the disruption of the supply chain and we started to take the tenders, we started to take the breaches very seriously. And you will see the number of files, how it increased by files. And we more than doubled the number of preliminary investigations and investigations. So ex officio also increased the number of reviews by 9 times. So, all these measures that we take, what does it serve? We cause effective resource distribution, we cause fair resource distribution, and we overcome the obstacles on the way of development. And we increase the welfare of consumers. Based on the OECD methodology, this is already an evidence for 2021 and 2022. Our contribution to the consumer welfare was equaling to $13.1 billion in 2 years, 2021 and 2022. And in the last 10 years, we had penalties imposed in amount of 15.5 billion Turkish liras, and about 90% of those fall in the share of the last 4 years. And our contribution to the consumer welfare, that certain 0.1 billion, doesn't include these penalties. The resource distribution had to be effective.
So we need actually to be very careful. So in 2021 in Turkey, so for 5 big chain markets, we did long survey. We actually did it with great effort, and we confirmed it as having so quality among them. So with that date, they were fined 2.7 million Turkish lira. With this, so it was the highest fine in the competition market that we applied to them. And when it comes to the, of course, it had the inflation impact. We did also another survey for the coordination of sales prices and price increases of chain markets. And we did also for the survey for suppliers, for Pepsi, for Coca-Cola, Ülker, Eti-like companies. For big companies, we find them 875 million lira. Another issue, what we did after that, of course, we did all this and then we fined them Of course, we take into consideration other aspects. For instance, we did sector investigation. We shared this information with the civil society. Water, bread, eggs, dairy products, flour, detergent, cosmetics, baby food. We did our sector reports. Another example. For the last 5 years, we had the red line competition. So it is kind of the new sale price determination, we call it. Before, so of course we were doing the warnings, but in the last 5 years we actually are more strict. We are currently working hard to raise prices. So of course we know that there is an impact for the inflation, because it impacts the actually consumers. So that So I have given you the original text that we actually found out. Ahmed Salam, we are rising the prices and we will see the impact in the region. So what is that? We are currently working hard to raise prices. You will start to see the effects in your region in a week. In this period, the last thing we want is to print lower price products on the field. So they use these corrupt prices rising. So and then he starts to actually explain what he is going to talk about to the other person. So they say that in this period the last thing we want is to print low price products on the field. So we talked about independent kind of market, but we need to be very careful. If you just are not careful, if you don't have the competition authority, then what? So, for instance, he says that the last thing we want is to print low-price products on the field. Nobody can prevent this, and everybody will have non-qualified and expensive products, and we will allocate more money from our budget. So, I think that every country should take these issues into consideration. So army is important, and at the same time for the country is the competition authority to regulate these issues. Another issue is we don't just reveal the names, but we identified another text. The shelf price is on the far right of the table above. Manufacturer says, he says that you need to do it like that. Market representatives, are we going to make them? For instance, but here he says that put this price, and market says, are we going to do it? And manufacturer says, yes, we will go up to those prices. I have another example. The manufacturer says that raise your prices, but market says that no, I am not going to do this, and he says that now I will not give you the products. Then we also investigated and found these texts as well. Also, we also had another investigation results in Turkey when it comes to Coca-Cola. They actually have the share of 70% of the whole market in Turkey. We did the investigation, and we open, as in Azerbaijan, in our country, for instance, if you have a place that they're too small, not more than 100 meter, so they can put only one shelf for the beverages, and it's only for Coca-Cola. But in Turkey we have hundreds of beverages and producers. They're local producers. They earn money because of this business. But when Coca-Cola put their shelf in the market, so it means the refrigerators in the grocery stores, it means that they become the leader in the market. So now they don't have this right. If the place is too small, if market can put only one refrigerator, if now it is open to 25% to other competitors, not only Coca-Cola. So it is very beneficial for our country, I think. So that's why it is really beneficial for small local producers in order to compete. So then we also did investigation for Al-Gida when it comes to the discount system. So they were violating the competition rules. Of course, that year in 2021 they were fined for 480 million fine for the discount system. As for Coca-Cola refrigerators, Al-Gida refrigerators also are available in markets, and other competitors cannot use their refrigerators. So that's why we opened them to other competitors, and the number was 30%. At the same time, we did we intervened in digital markets. For instance, Google, when it comes to Google, they subscribe to us for Android, for advertisements in shopping and the advertisement, of course, sector. We have our own rules. For Google, of course, they didn't do whatever we actually required from them. From 2024 until today, we actually fine them daily. 14 million lira fine is applied to them. Actually, if they actually meet all these requirements, we will take all this money. And then, when it comes to meta decisions, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, of course, they have their own policies, and they actually prevent other competitors to enter the market, and they actually also try to create barriers for other competitors which are available in the market. That's why we also fine them for failure to comply with obligations, and we actually told them our rules and connected threads and Instagram apps. So when it comes to meta threads, when it comes to the fines, 1.3 billion penalty actually applied for them. We started digital markets. We did our work. Marketplace platforms investor review. Of course. We did also study on the reflections or online advertising preliminary report, for instance, how Google survives because of the advertisements. So that's why we reviewed our report of financial technologies and payment services. Also, we finished this work. Here, when it comes to the control of concentrations, technology enterprise definition, we actually, when it comes to all technology initiatives, we actually receive all these reports. Elon Musk, in this regard, of course, we haven't received this from him. That's why from them. That's why they also we find them. When it comes to the Twitter takeover, we investigated online platforms. Of course, we have applications in our smartphones. In Turkey, the Trendyol has more share in the market. We also, they are fined with 61 million Turkish lira, mandatory minimum basket amount requirement. When it comes to Storytel, of course, they terminated with commitment. They actually created some barriers for their commitments. Then from owner, they were fined, and the amount was 40 million. Flower baskets, food baskets investigations are ongoing. When it comes to the food basket, we started it during the pandemic period, and their share in the market was 95. And in Turkey, when it comes to online food market, now we have 3 stable companies, 25, 35, 45, and after all these investigations, now the number decreased from 95 to 45, and consumers are pleased. Restaurants and other competitors now feel satisfied. So also we did another intervention in labor market. So of course it is related very to the young people, which is in their interest. So of course there are lots of initiatives in Turkey when it comes to the human factor. It was kind of gentleman agreement. So you work for a company. If you want to go to another company don't hire you, doesn't hire you. So now you become in a very bad condition. You start to agree with the price that with the salary that the company offers you. You have to accept all these conditions because they put some barriers for you to go to another company because they had gentleman agreement with another company, like figuratively speaking. So of course we did our investigation. It was open to 48 enterprises, and we find all those companies when it comes to the gentleman's agreements. So in order not to have all this kind of agreement, we of course have very severe decisions. So that's why it's really important to think about this, that the human workforce is very important for the market. So when it comes to all this workforce, we cannot violate these rules. Companies cannot prevent the all this integration among companies. So of course they cannot do it anymore. If the person cannot change the job place, cannot improve, then after a while that person will not want to work. He will or she will hate working. It will also impact their motivation. Innovation also will be impacted negatively. So I think that when it comes to food, digital or other industries, when it comes to competition authority in Turkey, in the last 5 years, of course, we did a lot in the workforce sphere. Of course, we witnessed earthquake disaster. Azerbaijani people were with us, supported us financially and mentally. Of course, during that time period, of course, you supported us a lot. For that support, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you on behalf of our country. Again, thank you very much. After the earthquake disaster, competition board members reached the region shortly after of course, the earthquake, and we held meetings with businesses representatives in order to prevent all these negative things to be happening. When it comes to the concrete or other production, we of course started our investigation not to have any violation done by the companies. Of course, in January, Turkic state organization, of course, is available. Of course, we are member of this, and we started the competition conference, and all together with Azerbaijani Competition Authority, we started to cooperate. In Shusha, we will continue these activities in the region of Azerbaijan, and this is the and of course in the future we will see their impact in other spheres, and it will pave way for other cooperation, further cooperation. Thank you very much for your patience. I consumed your time. So warm welcome from Turkey again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a detailed presentation, and I am sure that our guests also listened to you attentively and with great interest, because you did a lot in not only the local level but in the international level. You have lots of contributions, and you also got some rewards from as a competition authority by international organizations. Thank you very much. Let's continue with questions. There are lots of questions, so I will choose the provocative questions for our speakers to answer in order to challenge you, our speakers. Our first question is directed to Mr. Aydin. Mr. Aydin, so people here, our guests ask that, what do you think if the company is authoritarian? So if you take into consideration sustainable development, voluntarily, what do you think they should not stick to this position, and it can do you think that it can lead to protect the interest of the government? Can you help them to do that, or can you do it yourself? Thank you very much. Mr. Birol has given lots of information. I will also comment on that, because I represent entrepreneurs, and Mr. Birol represents the competition authority. Of course, I know all our colleagues from Turkey as well. We have close cooperation. When it comes to the first question, what's the authoritarian approach? For instance, Mercedes is actually dominant in Germany, right? BMW also they feel, but they don't have the authoritarian kind of approach from the competition authority, and the same rules should apply to them. And we have the same rule. If we have big companies, we need to feel proud. In Turkey, being Koç, Ülker companies are really great and big companies. They are heroes in the Turkey market, and they are known in Europe. When I was in Holland in the conference, so Ülker started their first presentation. I felt really proud for them. I respect Mr. Birol. Yes, they fine those companies when they violate the rules, but they are really good, big companies. For instance, Mercedes is popular in Germany, and they also feel proud of all those companies. But when it comes to the question that whether they have the authoritarian approach, there are lots of examples in the world available, especially, for instance, in America. Big holdings, big companies, of course, they donate their shares to other charities. So because when the company actually develops, it becomes the company of the government, and they donate to charities with great pleasure. And all these big companies are part of the company, integral part of the country, and they serve the country they are working and living. So that's why I address to everybody, and you can use all these my words in the future. So people make money, earn money or big companies. Me also can do the same. Maybe in the future you can be sure that I also will donate to charities whatever I earn, the 50% of my earnings. Of course, we need to discuss to find out the truth. After discussions, we can reach to some conclusions to identify the truth. When it comes to business activities, it's kind of football. Companies compete with each other, and competition authority is kind of judge. And of course, judge regulates everything based on the legislation and the law and the rules. All these activities, of course, judge. If the judge finds a lot, it's not also the good case. They need to explain what is the wrong point. They need to explain their wrongdoings. Whenever people are fined a lot, so it means that it's not also the right thing. The play is not in the right direction. So I am head of the company for more than 30 years. Our directors actually were enjoying to find people. So that's why I always had meetings with them, and I said that don't find too much. And they said that I need to find people, otherwise they will not work. And then they got used to that, and I said them that you need to manage the company without finding people too much. So then we developed even more after this, of course. Of course, I'm not the right person to comment on activities going on in Turkey. They have their legislation, etc. But in our country, of course, I would like to comment on the situation that's going on in our country. When it comes to the competition authority, we always have meetings, discuss important issues with them. I think that for the development of the economy, we need to be positive. We need to work together without fines, without punishment. We can, of course, contribute to our country's development. People become demotivated when they are fined. This is not the, I think, only way. We need together serve to our country's economy, and then we will see the results. And in terms of the business, etc. The business is for serving the country, is not taking the all power. We need to be away from the Soviet notion. Let's come back to, for instance, the previous time. 10 years ago, we didn't have chain markets. Did we have the best quality service? Of course, we had lots of problems in terms of the sale, safe products. But whenever we have any problem, immediately we go to the chain markets, we immediately start complaining, etc. But before it was not possible. So let's think about all these positive things. Thank you very much. And sorry for consuming your time too much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, you are the business person, and it's normal that you are giving these kind of opinions to us. Another question, Mr. Joel. The question is, the foreign companies, mainly big companies, they have projects about the about the environment. But it's not the case in our country. We don't have the projects related to the to protect the environment. What do you think when it comes to environmental protection in terms of do we have any companies to deal with these issues? Thank you very much. Dear guests, dear friends, of course, Mr. Birol has talked a lot about all these important things, but they're kind of drops in the big sea. Of course, we're the protectors of the free market. But he is talking about the strategy, and he actually talked about the fines only. He could have talked about more benefits and the results, not only fines. So you don't want to be fined until the end of the day because of your activities. Of course, I don't accept too much intervention in the free market. If you are in the free market and if you want to boost it, it shouldn't be the way. Mr. Birol has said that Coca-Cola has refrigerators, and we, of course, allowed other competitors to be in the market, but they cannot use that Coca-Cola refrigerator. If I were you, I would give those small markets these small refrigerators, not to use the refrigerator of the Coca-Cola, because it's their refrigerator. It is not the free market economy. It shouldn't be the way. It is kind of socialist economy. So, in the last 5 years, what happened? Inflation level is 100. So we have problems with job places, employment. It impacted the economy negatively. So we couldn't use the free market. So, yes, I know too much freedom is not also okay, but if competition authority is should not be only about fining companies, then we cannot improve. I don't like it. Another issue is, of course, I don't want to interview what he was talking about, but as a person who is in the market, of course, free market should be regulated in itself. But Mr. Birol says that no, it cannot be done. If the product is expensive, don't buy it. Don't go to that market. So don't go to those markets where everything is expensive. So where are the main players in the market as consumers? So it's not the right to be brought up with the fine. So we need to support the free market. When it comes to the question, if competition authority allocates certain amount of money, we will support the green economy and the environment. But of course, we impact the environment negatively as business people, and then the competition authority comes and fines us. As business people, entrepreneurs, we need to have a working ethic. It is not in the book of macroeconomy, microeconomy. It should be actually taught in our family by our teachers. If the person doesn't have the dignities, they will not be they will not take care of the environment, let alone the economy. But it is not, I mean, the right thing. If you don't of course, do everything properly, then you will spend all your money for medicine. So that's why without any fines, etc., so it should be regulated. Last year, we actually had the tree planting action in Baku's region. So we, of course, most of our companies, my company included, every year, we support the economical development, and some budgets are allocated to us. So, for instance, of course, when you plant trees in Turkey, even the government can pay free you some taxes. But in Azerbaijan, it's not the case. In order to actually motivate people, you need to apply this in your country. So we need to cooperate all together with the government officials. Whenever we want the state, the government have the strategy, we need to meet their requirements. And we need to know where to plant these trees. When I go to the city, I understand that where trees should be planted, but I cannot do it by myself. I need to go to the certain agency because we want to plant 1,000 trees. If it is in the form of plan, we will be successful. So, for instance, somebody next day will say that I actually planted 1,000 trees. I will make this place for myself as a park. No, we cannot allow this to be happening. So that's why I support the free market, and I think that it will continue like this. Mr. Birol can fine us, but we will still support the free market. Mr. Birol, I think you have the right to answer to all these remarks. When it comes to the private sector, we don't cooperate with them a lot, and we don't have kind of too much close relationship with them. The fine is not the only issue. So, of course, they are business people. When they open their eyes, they see green dollars. But me, of course, within the framework of competition authority, I think that for the government, for the country to develop, to improve, Of course, in order to make all this market fair, that's why I touched upon those issues. Of course, when we use all these tools, our main goal to improve the sustainability, to provide sustainable development, in order to also provide the well-being of people. So, of course, whenever we take steps, whenever we implement these activities, we see some wrongdoings, we find them. Why we find these companies? In order to actually impede these things from happening in the future. When we investigate and find out all these wrongdoings, if I say to Mr. Jamal, don't do it anymore. I love you too much, we love you too much, don't do it anymore. Do you think that it will impact him? If I say the same thing to Mr. Aydin, don't do it. It's not right. What do you think? He will not do the same activities. Sorry, you are here. That's why I use you as an example. I don't say that you are doing this. For example, I say. So that's why we need to kind of influence them. For instance, when it comes to the workforce investigation, I talked about that. Of course, when it comes to gentleman agreement, how they cannot be fined, what do you think, if they do these kind of activities? If we implement these activities, of course, if the gentleman agreement, of course, is continuing to be the case, what do you think? How we can create conditions for young people? So that's why for the sustainable development, it is really important to take into consideration. But Mr. Jamal just focused more on fines. But when it comes to Turkey, of course, we have really big economy. Of course, it is a very big country which produces many products. We have the big industry. When it comes to Syria and Iraq, in the border of Syria, Iraq, they were fighting against PKK terrorists, and millions of dollars are spent by Turkey in order to protect our country, and we have more than 100 million martyrs in our country in order to protect our country. We fight it in Karabakh, Syria and Iraq, and in Kosovo we have unions as well. If we didn't do like that, as Mr. Jamal has mentioned, we didn't have any inflation, we will not have these too many problems, because we care about our country, integrity of our country. So that's why we are not now concerned too much about the 85% of inflation, because we have our interests as a country. If we didn't spend this amount of money to all these activities, we will have even bigger economy compared to Germany. We are Turkic country, and that's why we are too concerned of our integrity and the power of our country. Thank you very much. It was very good discussion. Thank you very much.
I agree with everything my dear friend said. Just wanted to bring clarification. Both what was said by Mr. Jamal and Mr. Aydin said. Mr. Jamal, every country, doesn't matter Turkey or Azerbaijan, or the competition policy is not a goal. Competition policy is a tool to reach an objective, and we, just like any other countries which are developing, our objectives and goals are clearly outlined. And as it was outlined by Mr. Birol, a country without a sustainable growth is nothing. And I'm trying, everybody knows this, of course, but I thought I needed to mention it once again. In this, this is how we should see a competition and the usage of competition. And of course, at the foundation of the respect toward competition is a free market and a healthy entrepreneurship environment. Only free market, but free market doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want to. There are big companies in free market which has a dominant role, which has a big share and which impact, and there are a number of small companies. So of course you like Mr. Jamal, Mr. Aydin, and like we can of course be different, and we can try to be based on the traditions, family values, but it doesn't mean that everybody else will behave in the same way. So the main purpose of the competition is to protect the weaker ones, and not to give them privileges, but to provide them with equal opportunities. That's what lying on the foundation. We are not talking about creating equal, making everyone equal, because this is not communism or socialism. We are just talking about creating equal opportunities. We try to stop the injustice of the bigger ones against smaller ones. Why do we need the law enforcement? Because in the same way we can say, why do we need police? Why do we need the law enforcement? We are a good person. I am good, and I don't want to, of course, do bad against others. But as you get stronger in the business, you start to think that you are the smartest person in the room. That's why in the competition, that economic fairness must be protected. And if penalties or financial sanctions need to be put in place in order to achieve that competition, I think that it should be done. One famous philosopher said that if the benefit that you learn from that you get from the violation is bigger than the penalty you will receive, this is never good. Because in the business, the main goal is maximization of the shareholders' profit. So that's what the shareholders demand from us. So that's why the penalty, and as it was mentioned by Birol, you mentioned this is just a small amount in the world, in the country's economics. It can seem a big amount, but it's very small in the world country's economics. So that's why I think it's very important. This is what lies in the foundation of the competition. Thank you. I think that we are I'm wrapping up because we reached the end of the time that was allowed to us. I want to thank all the speakers, and I hope you enjoyed the discussions. Thank you very much. I will ask you not to leave the floor, dear panel members, because we are going to have a quick session where we will reward you with symbols of appreciation.
İqtisadiyyat Nazirliyi yanından İqtisad və İstehlak Bazarına Nəzarət Dövlət Xidmətinin rəis müavini Zəfər Babayev.
So another plaque is awarded to Mr. Birol Köle, the head of the Turkish Competition Authority. A plaque is awarded to Mr. Cemal Yangan. Plaque is awarded to Mr. Aydın Talibov, head of Veysaloglu Group of Companies, and we want to thank the Veysaloglu Group of Companies for their
Eyni zamanda paket təqdim olunur Azərbaycan Respublikası İqtisadiyyat Nazirliyi.
Also, plaque is awarded to Mr. Mehmet Abasbali, the head of the anti-monopoly agency, for their support. Please hand it to Mr. Mehmet, dear Dr. Hidayat. And with this, we are wrapping up the panel discussion on the sustainable growth through cooperation. We will resume at 1400 with the title of Transition to Green Economy. Thank you.